I started dating my wife's sister because I found my wife under our neighbor's bed. Derek, old classmate, she said, lives right across the alley. You've probably seen him around. She explained that he needed help with some renovations. Said his back was giving him trouble, that he'd hurt himself lifting drywall and didn't want to hire strangers. I shrugged and said, if he needs a hand, I've got time this weekend. But she waved it off. No, it's mostly small stuff. Cleaning, organizing, nothing heavy. And that was that. At least for a while. The visits started out occasional, once a week, maybe twice. Then they became more frequent. She'd go over for just an hour in the afternoon and come home 3 hours later, talking about how disorganized his garage was or how long it took to scrub paint off an old tile wall. Sometimes she'd come back with dust on her clothes, other times not. She was tired either way. Guy's a mess, she said. His wife left years ago. He never figured out how to live alone. I didn't ask questions. I'd known Derek for years by face, not personally. We nodded at each other once or twice when our driveways lined up. That's about it. I figured they really were just classmates. Maybe he really was helpless. But then I started noticing she dressed differently when she went over there. Subtle things, tighter jeans, hair done up even when she said it was just a quick stop. I'd catch a whiff of perfume when she came in, not strong, but enough to notice. Once, she came home in a tank top she didn't leave in. Said she changed because she got paint on the other one. Fair enough. Except there were no paint marks on the shirt. Another time, I asked what room they were working on. She froze just a second too long before saying, kitchen. He's trying to retile the backsplash. That backsplash had been new for 2 years. I said nothing. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who makes accusations with no proof. I've seen friends go down that road, ruining good marriages over a gut feeling. But it started sticking in my head, and the more I pushed it away, the more obvious it became. One Saturday, I suggested we spend the afternoon together. She hesitated. I promised I'd help Derek sort through some old furniture, she said. I offered to come help too. She paused again, then smiled. He's kind of private about his space. Doesn't like strangers digging through his things. She left 20 minutes later, hair curled and lipstick on. That night, I sat on the couch alone. TV on, volume low. Nothing sinking in. My phone buzzed. It was a work notification. Then another, and then silence again. I looked out the window toward Derek's house. The lights were on upstairs. So was the one in his bedroom. I told myself not to be paranoid. But in my gut, I knew something wasn't right. It happened on a Thursday. I had just gotten home from work. Long day, too many phone calls, and a backache that wouldn't go away. I dropped my keys in the dish, took off my boots, and saw a notification pop up on my phone. It wasn't from anyone I recognized right away. The name just said Tina H. No profile picture, just a message preview. I don't know if you know me, but I live next to Derek. I need you to see this. I stood in the hallway staring at the screen for a few seconds. My first instinct was to delete it. Some scam, probably. Another fake message, like the dozens that get filtered to spam. Then another message came in. This isn't a joke. I'm Tina. I live to the right of Derek. I've seen your wife over there. Please watch the video. I'm not trying to start trouble. I think you deserve to know. And there it was, a link to a video. I sat down on the edge of the couch and I opened it. The video wasn't long, maybe 20, 30 seconds. The camera was shaky. Looked like it had been recorded from behind blinds or through a slightly cracked window, but it was clear enough. Derek's bedroom. His curtains were partly open. The lighting was dim, but not too dim to see what was happening. There they were, Vanessa and Derek, lying on the bed, sheets barely covering them. And then, just as the clip ended, she reached over and touched his chest in a way that removed all doubt. The screen went black. Another message followed. I'm sorry you had to see that. I know it's hard, but don't let it go. I've seen her over there too many times. I know you're a good man. I just sat there, phone in my lap, staring at the blank television screen across the room. Every memory of the past few months, every just helping with repairs, every late return, every vague excuse, it all slid into place like a jigsaw puzzle that suddenly made sense. And in that moment, I felt something I wasn't prepared for. I stood up and walked to the kitchen, picked up the glass Vanessa used every morning and dropped it into the sink harder than I meant to. It cracked. She came home an hour later. I'd already cleaned the mess. I was sitting on the couch, TV on low again. Same show, different mood. She walked in like nothing happened. Said she was tired. Said Derek was hopeless with measurements. Then she looked around. The picture frame on the shelf was slightly askew. The rug had been kicked up in one corner. The smell of glass cleaner was still in the air. She narrowed her eyes. What happened here? Long day, I said. They handed me a new project last minute. I'm completely behind. Think I might have to work late nights for a while. She relaxed. Oh, she said. You okay? Yeah, I nodded. Just a bit overloaded. I'll be fine. She kissed my head and went to the bedroom. After all, I called someone who wouldn't lie to me. Someone who didn't know her anything. Her sister. The next morning, I left earlier than usual. Vanessa was still half asleep when I kissed her forehead and said I had a conference call I couldn't miss. She mumbled something and rolled over. I drove 10 minutes away and parked in an empty lot. I didn't go to work. I just sat there for a while, thinking. Then I called Alyssa. She picked up after the second ring. Hey, she said, everything okay? Not really, I admitted. I know this is sudden, but can we talk? There was a pause. Yeah, of course. Where are you? Alyssa lived about 15 minutes from us, in a small apartment above a bakery. I'd only been there once before, when we helped her move in. Since then, we'd texted occasionally, birthdays, holidays, that sort of thing, but we weren't close. Still, she didn't hesitate to invite me in. I didn't give her every detail at first, just that I'd found out Vanessa was cheating, that I had proof, that it wasn't a rumor or a suspicion, it was real. On video, sent to me by someone who didn't know me anything. Alyssa didn't interrupt. I'm not sure what to do, I told her. She stared at her coffee for a long time before answering. I always thought she was a little reckless, she said. But I didn't think she'd do this to you. I started going over there more often, once every few days at first, then a couple times a week. I told Vanessa it was work, late meetings, tight deadlines, early morning site visits. She believed me, and even packed my lunch some days, kissed me on the cheek like nothing was broken. Sometimes I wondered if she'd already convinced herself she hadn't done anything wrong, that whatever she and Derek were doing wasn't really cheating, that as long as I didn't say the words out loud, she could pretend everything was normal. And I let her believe that because I had my own pretending to do. Alyssa was different. She just listened when I talked and gave quiet advice when I asked for it. She wasn't overly emotional, either, just quiet disappointment in her sister. I think she's untouchable, she said one night. She's always gotten away with things. With people, she's never had to face anything real. And what happens if she does? I asked. Alyssa looked me in the eyes. She'll break, because she's not built for consequences. We got closer. Late nights turned into early mornings. Long talks turned into shared dinners. Comfort turned into something more. The first time we kissed, it was quiet. Just two people, sitting close on her couch, both tired and alone. She leaned in. So did I, and it didn't feel wrong. That night, I didn't go home. I texted Vanessa and said I was stuck at work. She replied, okay, be safe. I'd been holding back the full truth. Not because I didn't trust her, but because once you show someone something like that, there's no walking it back. Alyssa had already stood by me longer than most would. She listened without judgment, never once hinted at telling Vanessa, never once made this about taking sides. And more than that, she believed me. I remember how we sat at her small kitchen table, the late sun casting long lines through the window. I turned the volume low, not because I needed to, but because I already knew what came next. It was a short clip, but every second of it was loaded. Vanessa, lying in bed, tangled up in sheets with Derek, his arm over her stomach, the look in her eyes. When it ended, I tapped the screen, locking the phone. Alyssa didn't say anything at first. She just looked down at her hands. Then finally, quietly, she's been doing this a while, hasn't she? I think so. That changed everything. It made what was happening between us. Now we weren't playing in the gray anymore. We had stepped over a line, together. Vanessa didn't notice. She kept texting like everything was normal, asking about my schedule, sending photos of dinner, telling me Derek's renovations were finally coming together, like I cared. I responded when necessary, short and polite. Alyssa and I, meanwhile, started spending entire weekends together. No more lying about work. No more fake meetings. One Sunday morning, she made breakfast. Eggs, toast, strong coffee. We sat on her couch with our plates balanced on our laps. She looked over at me and said, "You know this will get ugly, right?" "Yeah, she's going to lose her mind when she finds out. She'll find out soon enough." Alyssa took a bite of toast and shrugged. Good. We weren't in a rush to go public, but we didn't hide, either. She posted a photo of us together, nothing romantic, Just a shot of the two of us at the beach, sunglasses on, relaxed. But it was enough. It took less than 2 hours for Vanessa to message me. Why are you with her? No greeting, no context, just panic. I didn't answer. Instead, I went about my day with Alyssa. We got groceries, we cleaned her apartment. We talked about how strange it was to live in the same city, but suddenly feel like the world had shifted entirely. The next morning, Alyssa posted a second picture. We were on the couch, her legs over mine, smiling at something on the TV. It was candid. And that's what made it sting. Within an hour, Vanessa called me. I let it ring. You've been seeing her this whole time? Ryan, seriously. What the hell is going on? This time, I replied. Don't pretend this is new for you. You were sleeping with someone else first. Then silence was louder than any excuse she could have thrown at me. Later that evening, I drove home to grab a few things I hadn't yet moved to Alyssa's place. Vanessa was there, waiting in the kitchen. You're with my sister now? She asked. I am. She laughed. You think that makes you better than me? No, I said, but at least I didn't start until after I knew what you were doing. Look, it wasn't like that. I'm not here to rehash your justifications. I came for my stuff. She blocked the hallway. You seriously think this is okay? Sleeping with my sister? Posting it online? You seriously think I didn't know about you and Derek? Her face drained of color. I know exactly what I saw, I said quietly, and I know who sent it to me. She froze. You've been talking to Tina? She sent the video. She's the reason I didn't find out a year from now. A few hours later, Alyssa showed up with her car to help me load boxes. Vanessa stood at the window, watching. She didn't come outside, but I saw the look in her eyes, the moment she realized this wasn't a temporary stunt, and it was something she couldn't undo. Not this time. That night, Alyssa and I ordered dinner and stayed in. She didn't ask about what Vanessa had said. She didn't want to relive it. Neither did I. Instead, she leaned against me on the couch and whispered, "She's going to lose it soon." "She already is," I replied. We stayed like that for a long time, and for the first time since this all began, I felt something close to peace. The first real fallout came from her parents. I wasn't the one to tell them, Alyssa was. They called her the night after our second photo went up. Her mother's voice was sharp, already loaded with judgment before the conversation began. Alyssa put the call on speaker while we sat in the car together, watching rain fall across the windshield. "You're with him now?" her mom asked. "Your sister's husband?" "Ex," Alyssa said calmly, "or close enough. She was cheating on him. I've seen the proof." "You believe him over your own sister?" "No, I believe my own eyes. He showed me the video." Her father finally chimed in. "I think it's better we all sit down and talk in person." "No," Alyssa said, "you two can sit with Vanessa. I'm done covering for her." And with that, she ended the call. Her hand trembled slightly when she put the phone down, but her face didn't show it. That night, Vanessa showed up at Alyssa's place. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice thin. I stepped outside, pulled the door shut behind me. Then, finally, "Why her?" I met her eyes. "Why Derek?" She flinched. "That was different." She started crying. "I thought maybe you'd be mad. Maybe we'd argue, but you'd forgive me. We'd work through it. You really thought I'd just keep living like nothing happened? You didn't even try to fix it." "No," I said, because I knew it was already broken. "So you're really with her now?" "I am." Then came the shift, the edge in her voice. "You used me," she said. "You stayed in this house while you were sneaking off to my sister. You played the victim." "I didn't sneak," I replied. "I told you I was working. And I was, just not in the way you thought." Then I took a step forward, keeping my voice low. "You lied, cheated, smiled in my face, and went across the alley to a man who isn't your husband. I'm not the one who broke this." She clenched her jaw. And I knew what was coming next, the blame, the deflection, the desperate attempt to flip the script. I ended it before she started. "So shut your mouth," I said calmly. "You made your choice. We made ours. Don't you dare blame us." She didn't say anything after that. Just stared at me for a long second, then turned and walked down the stairs. Alyssa was in the kitchen, pretending not to have heard, but she had. She slid a cup of tea across the table. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm just done pretending I owe her anything." And that's when I knew she was finally out of angles. The house was still half mine on paper, but I didn't care. Let her keep it. Sit in the same kitchen where she used to lie to me about helping a friend. Let her walk past the same hallway where I used to wait up and believe every word she fed me. But I was back at the house, the one Vanessa and I used to share, picking up the last of my things. There wasn't much left. A few boxes of books. some old tools, a jacket I forgot in the hall closet. Vanessa hadn't replied to any of my messages about the pickup, but I didn't expect her to. So when I walked in and found her sitting on the couch, I didn't flinch. She looked up like she'd been waiting for hours. "You really think you can just walk away?" she asked. I didn't respond. "Seriously, Ryan, I cheated. You got mad, but why did you run to Alyssa?" "Stop," I said. "No, you stop. You think you're some noble victim? You think what you're doing is better. I'm not interested in arguing with you," I said, setting the box down by the door. "I'm here to take my stuff and leave." "Well, too bad," she snapped, "because we're going to talk about this. I gave you years of my life, and you think you can humiliate me in front of my family and move on with her." I paused, looked at her, and then pulled my phone out of my pocket. I tapped the screen twice and turned it around. She frowned. "What are you doing?" "Reminding you," I said. The video started playing, the one where she and Derek were lying together in his bed. No clothes, no distance, no shame. I didn't even look at the screen. I watched her instead. She looked down, and when the clip ended, I didn't say anything. "I could have sent that to your parents," I said, "to your boss, to anyone." She stood up, hands trembling. "That was one mistake." "No, Vanessa, it wasn't. It was months of lying, gaslighting, sneaking around with someone who lived 20 feet from me." She turned away from me like she couldn't stand to face it. "Why her?" she whispered. "Why Alyssa?" "Because she tells the truth," I said. "Because she didn't smile in my face while sleeping with someone else." She turned back, eyes wide, voice raised. "You really think people are going to be okay with this? That they'll support you two being together?" "I don't care if they do," I said flatly. "Because I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing this for me." When I picked up the last box, I paused at the door. She stood in the same spot, arms crossed, breathing uneven. And that was the first time she didn't say anything to stop me. I loaded the last box into the trunk, closed it gently, and slid into the driver's seat. I just sat there for a minute, hands on the wheel, letting it sink in. That house behind me, the one we used to call home, didn't feel like anything anymore. Just drywall and lies. I used to imagine growing old there, fixing it up one room at a time, raising a family. Now, it was just square footage I didn't want. When I got back to Alyssa's place, she was sitting on the couch with a blanket over her lap and 2 mugs of coffee waiting. She just looked up at me and said, "You good?" I nodded. "I am now." She smiled. "Come sit. You look like you've just walked out of a courtroom." I let out a soft laugh, kicked off my shoes, and dropped onto the couch beside her. Over the next few weeks, things settled. I filed for divorce. Vanessa didn't fight it. She didn't contact me again. Tina, the one who had sent the video, messaged once more to say she was glad I found a way forward. I thanked her and let the conversation end there. Vanessa's parents stopped trying to reach out. They were angry, confused, maybe embarrassed. I didn't blame them, but I wasn't going to explain myself anymore. Alyssa, meanwhile, didn't hide. She stood beside me every day, not apologizing, not shrinking, not justifying herself to people who wanted to pick sides in a story they only half understood. We moved into a new place 3 months later. The first night there, while unpacking, I found one of the old photo frames from the house. It had a picture of Vanessa and me in it at some family event years ago. We looked young, happy, unaware of what was coming. I stared at it for a long time, then quietly slipped it into the trash. Because this new chapter wasn't about forgetting. It was about knowing what we learned and choosing better. People ask me sometimes, old friends, coworkers, even family who stayed out of it, if I ever think about what happened. The answer is yes. I think about it often, but not with regret. I don't replay the fights. I don't lose sleep wondering if I could have saved it all by talking sooner or pushing harder. Because the truth is, by the time I saw the proof, the relationship had already rotted beneath the surface. Vanessa wasn't just someone who made a mistake. She made a decision, again and again, with no remorse, in the house we shared, with a man who waved at me across the alley. She knew what she was doing. She just didn't think I'd ever see it. And when I did, she didn't think I'd walk away with my head high. I don't hate her. There's no space in me for that. But I don't wish her well, either. We had something once. Maybe even something good. But if it was real, it wouldn't have broken so quietly. Wouldn't have vanished the second she got bored. Alyssa and I live a quieter life now. We've had our share of hard conversations. There were awkward looks from mutual friends, tension from people who didn't know the whole story, whispers behind closed doors. But we faced it all together. Because when someone stands by you at your lowest, not out of obligation, not out of guilt, but simply because they care, that means something. She didn't choose me to hurt her sister. She chose me because I was honest with her when I had no reason to be. And I chose her because she showed me what loyalty looks like when everything else falls apart. There are still reminders. Occasionally, I'll walk by that old street or pass someone who used to be part of our former life. But I don't stop. I don't look twice. I just keep moving. Sometimes, it's the quiet realization that you don't have to carry someone else's mistakes on your back anymore. You don't have to keep justifying your hurt or asking why. You just live. You love again, better this time. Thank you so much for watching. It truly means a lot to have you here.